Hey, what is up guys? Guitar here, welcome back to another brown dust video. Okay, so we're gonna go in depth with the analysis of Ludia, since a lot of you guys, I noticed a lot of new users have been asking me on Discord server, so I might as well do a better explanation than my previous video. Alright, so if you guys did not check out my previous analysis video, I will provide links in the description and you can click on the top right there. But yeah, let's just jump into it. So Ludia, first off, I want to mention a couple of things. So agility. What is AGI in this game? A lot of people don't understand what AGI does. So if you go over here, look at these stats right here. There's attack, HP, defense, crit rate, crit damage. The last thing, the one that looks like a boots, the leg boots, 22%. That's the agility. Alright, so agility is important for certain heroes, you know. Agility can be boosted by certain supporters as well. Narisa is one of the few prominent ones. So if you want to, you can basically pair Ludia with Narisa and maybe increase her agility even more, which is insane, right? So improving agility is definitely a thing. So something to consider as well. Okay, so how do you make her work without buffs, ideally? Ideally, without buffs, how do you make her work? So click over here on these stats right here, the question mark up here. So if you notice in the AGI section, they said when partially hit, incoming damage reduces by 35%, enemies debuff duration time reduces by 50%. So what that means is, just ignore the term partially hit. That term is very confusing. When you're hit, I don't know why they mention when partially hit. When you're hit, basically, it's going to reduce incoming damage by 35% if you have 100% AGI. Alright, so keep that in mind. It gets confusing from here. So if you have 35% AGI, what that does is you have a 35% chance of reducing the incoming damage by 35%. Alright, does that make sense? So if you have 50% AGI, you have a 50% chance to reduce the incoming damage by 35%. Alright, so 35% is a fixed number right here for AGI. Alright, so basically it's the Graze effect. The partially hit can be a bit confusing. I've tested it before, even if you are the main target. I think all of us knew this. If you fought Ogdot in World Boss, right? Ogdot has 100% AGI. So Ogdot will always have 35% reduced incoming damage, and Ogdot's DOT duration will always be reduced by half. So if you fight Ogdot and you notice, you use Vila for example, and notice that Vila has 8 turns decomposition, but when it hits Ogdot, it only lasts for 4 turns because DOT will be reduced by half as well. So hopefully you guys understand the concept of AGI right here. So AGI is basically a number, a percentage basically, that affects either 35% reduced incoming damage or the DOT will be reduced by half. So let's say you have a defender that has 80% AGI, right? 80% AGI. So this defender will have 80% chance. It's still RNG based because 80%. He or she will have 80% chance to block 35% of the incoming damage, and will have 80% chance to reduce the incoming DOT by half. So ideally, when it comes to AGI, it's extremely RNG based because no other units, no other mercenaries has the ability to reach 100% agility before. I'm talking about before Ludia, that is. I think the highest that I've seen so far is on, let's see, Kaylin has pretty high as well. I think hers goes to an insane amount. This particular skill boosts AG by 70%. 70% is a lot. 70%. Her base AG is 15%. So if after normal attack, she will have 15% plus 70%, so that is 85%. So she has 85% chance to reduce 35% incoming damage. I think you guys get it by at this at this point in time. I hope you guys already understood the concept. Okay, but for Ludia it works differently, right? AGI works differently because of this annoying cheating skill right here. Okay, so look at this. So the amount of reduced damage due to Graze effect will be increased. So basically, hers is quite different as opposed to the 35%. On top of that, plus 65%. So she can reduce the damage up to 100%. So for most other units out there, they only can reduce, their AGI will only help them to reduce the incoming damage by 35%. But hers, because of this skill right here, the enhanced Graze, she has the ability to reduce it all the way to 100%, 35 plus 65. At plus 9, of course. No, plus 8. Yeah, at plus 8 she gets increased all the way to plus 8. Okay, so how do you make her work? How do you make her invisible? So she has this skill right here at plus 9. Okay, so defense before battle starts times 100% AGI boost. So hopefully you guys understood the concept of Graze by now. Like what AGI does, it gives Graze. Graze is a percentage chance to reduce incoming damage by 35%. So now let's talk about this skill right here. Defense before battle starts times 100% agility boost. So imagine if your Ludia has 2 shield runes, each with 25% defense. So that 25% defense will convert into AGI, right? So that means she will have 50% AGI. So imagine each of them has the 8% AGI substate as well, right? So imagine it's a plus rune. Imagine it's a plus rune. It has 8% AGI substat. So 25%, you get 50%. So 50% you add to that substate, which 8 plus 8, you get 16%. So 50 plus 16, you get 66%, right? So 66%, that is how much AGI she can have from 2 shield runes which has 25% defense with 8% agility. So that 66% will be added on top of her 22% AGI. So that gives her 88% AGI. So what that means is she has 88% chance to reduce damage by 100%. So that is kind of an RNG based scenario. How do you make her like totally invisible, right? So based on my calculation, if you want to make her totally invisible, she needs the best of the best runes. The best runes that you can ever give her, that you can ever obtain in the game. Alright, I'm talking about 6 stars, Legend Plus. You need Legend Plus because you want the 8% AGI substat. So, what percentage does she need to get to reach 100%? You need 31% shield runes with 8% AGI substat. So based on the calculation, imagine you have 31% and 31%, you get 62%. 62 plus the substat, 16%, you get 78%. Right? So 78% AGI total. So you add that to 22% that she has as her base AGI, you get 100%. So that's how you make her totally invisible. 78% plus 22, 100%. So in order for you to use her without buffs, we're talking about no buffs right here. Alright, so yeah, she needs that amount. She needs 31% shield rune. Okay, so I personally do not have any Legend Plus shield runes. It's not easy to obtain a Legend Plus. Like, imagine the amount of farm you have to go through just to farm the Legend Plus runes. You can't even use Legend runes. If you have good Legend runes right now, I mean, it could still work, you know, but you really need the Legend Plus to make it 100%. So that she has 100% to ignore damage reduction, to ignore all the damage. So, she's totally invisible. She's a good counter to a lot of heroes, Wilhelmina in particular, which is why in Korea server she's being used a lot. Especially if you want to climb to the top. Maybe it's less relevant if you're trying to just play around Crystal, to Diamond League, or you want to upgrade a bit to Sapphire, sure, you don't really need her. But once you go to Grandmaster, Wilhelmina is pretty much everywhere, and she's a direct counter to her. Alright, so Wilhelmina goes through 100% defense, ignores defense, but Wilhelmina cannot do any damage to her because she has 100% ignore damage, which is different from the defense mechanics, you know? And there's a lot of heroes with ignore damage reduction as well. So Mamonair is one of the few exceptions. Let's have a look. So Mamonair has this particular skill right here. So ignores enemies incoming damage reduction and deals additional damage. So you might think that Mamonair is a good counter, right? No, it's not. If you look at the exception right here, affected by damage reduction caused by partial damage, which means Graze, which means those AGI at 100%, which means Mamonair cannot be used to counter Ludia. So who can counter Ludia right now? Like if you're trying to fight against her, who is the like perfect best counter against Ludia? So that's going to be fixed damage heroes: Velfron, Livia, Seto, and Alec. Alright, so notice that all 4 mercenaries that I mentioned are legendaries, which is insane. Like there's no fixed damage 5 stars yet, not that I know of. Oh yes, there's Battery. Battery is fixed damage, deals fixed damage before the enemy's turn ends. There might be some, you know, that's fixed damage, but they won't be as good as the 4 legendaries that I mentioned. And it's quite hard to use them just to counter Ludia specifically, because these mercenaries are just not good. They are just not good. Battery, who uses Battery? Unless you run Seer and Diomeron as the stat effect, but ideally it's just who uses Battery solo? You don't use Battery like that. I think Claudia deals fixed damage as well. We can check her out. Claudia right here. There. Fixed additional damage to warriors, defenders, magicians with Curse Puppet applied whenever they attack. But she's a skip. So usually people place their Ludia all the way in front to counter lots of meta heroes. It's just annoying to fight against Ludia. Some of you might argue, oh, she doesn't have Taunt, who cares, right? She doesn't need Taunt. With Taunt, she's going to be too broken. I don't think she deserves a Taunt. Like, she's already one of the best tanks you can obtain right now, right? So her role is similar with Lilian and Archon, where she's there to defend one particular lane. You just place her in one lane. If you don't have a fixed damage, you're pretty much doomed. Like, you're pretty much doomed. There's nothing you can do. Even if you have like Sigmund, Foxy, Wilhelmina, Anastasia, you're not going to do anything to her. You're not. Like, you're just going to do 0 damage to her. She's just insane right now. She's one of the best tanks for sure. Stats weakening is going to help her even more. Means you can't reduce her stats, you can't reduce her defense, you can't reduce her agility, which is insane. She's always going to be alive and just tanking well against whoever who is like, whichever team that doesn't have fixed damage mercenary. She's just going to be there, taunting you, haunting you. So yeah, in terms of using Ludia right now, sure, you need good runes to have the 100% Graze effect. That's definitely going to be beneficial. But for me personally, even if you can't get all the way up there, right? Even if you can't get the best of the best legend runes with substat AGI, like, what's the usable state right now? I do think that 26% shield runes are going to be more than enough. If you have 26% shield runes, times 2 is going to give you 52%, alright, plus 16% agility, 8% substat each, you're going to get a 68. So 68% total plus her base AGI at 22%, you're going to get 90%. 90% chance, I think that's good enough. You have a 90% chance to be able to Graze, to be able to reduce the incoming damage by 100%. I think that's more than enough. For me, it's a little bit RNG right there. I do use some of my units who have 90% crit rate. Occasionally they don't crit, can be really annoying, but most of the time they do. 90% chance, right? So that's pretty high. So yeah, let me know if you guys are gonna build Ludia, and if the answer is yes, what runes would you go for? 31% is quite hard to achieve. It's really hard, but I do think that, you know, you should be able to manage with like 29%. Just a little bit of RNG. The percentage chance is going to reduce, drop a little bit, but I wouldn't call her unusable at that point. She's going to be one of the best tanks to obtain right now. Alright guys, this is a rather long video, but let me know what you guys think of Ludia. Are you guys going to build her? And if you still do not understand, let me know in the comments below. I'll try to explain better, I hope, in words. So yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.